Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. This is the first of 6 thyroid videos I'm going to make addressing the 6 categories of low thyroid output. This is by far the most common functional, keyword functional, reason that somebody would have low thyroid symptoms and it actually be the thyroid. This patient comes in, routinely says, my thyroid never shows low. But when we actually narrow the ranges down to functional or optimal ranges, we see that they start to run low on thyroid hormone. So the most common cause of clinical hypothyroidism, where the ranges are exceeding pathologic ranges and you would need to be medicated for them, is an autoimmune condition, which would be category 2, and we'll talk about that next. And that is Hashimoto's disease. Much more complicated than this one, but this is by far the most common when you actually look at the ranges for reasons people having low thyroid symptoms. So the thyroid is regulated by your brain, like many things. On the hormonal side, the pituitary gland. So 2 markers that we're looking at with this category, the TSH, which is the brain side, and the thyroid side. So is your thyroid putting high amounts of hormone? Is the car going fast, or is the car going slow? Is this number high or low? Well, with low thyroid output or hypothyroidism, you would expect this number to start going lower. So I tend to see this, the functional level range for this is 6. So you would expect this number to be below 6. Well, if that was going slow, if the car is going slow, you would expect the thyroid, or I should say the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, to start going up to say, hey, go, start making more. But in this category of functional thyroid depression, this number will actually be low. And the functional level for that is 1.8. So you see this number under 1.8, and you see this number under 6. So you've got low speed, and your foot's off the gas pedal. You're actually slowing down. So this is primary pituitary hypothyroidism. In higher extremes, this number is going to be even further depressed. I don't see this commonly show up at a clinical level or a pathologic level, and there are some things we can talk about that, but commonly the functional reason for this depression that would result in common thyroid symptoms like fatigue, struggling to lose weight, hair loss, thinning of the eyebrows, dry cracked heels, all of these reasons that people may have thyroid issues and have repeatedly been told that they don't, according to their blood work, commonly driven by 2 things, really. Cortisol, which is typically driven by dysglycemia or a blood sugar issue, difficulty regulating blood sugar, or inflammation. The low dopamine and serotonin also most commonly driven by dysglycemia. So really you can narrow it down to these 2 things, dysglycemia and inflammation. Now these other 2 things can independently impact it, but for the purposes of this video and covering the 99% of cases, it's going to be driven by blood sugar and some sort of inflammatory issue. It might be 80-20, 80% blood sugar, 20% inflammation, or vice versa. Either way, I'm going to kind of talk about the most common ways to address those and how you can resolve these issues pretty quickly. And you do see it reflect on blood work. These things start to normalize, and then you start seeing those symptoms go away functionally. Okay? So with dysglycemia, we're just going to give very general recommendations. We're going to do 3 square meals a day. You're going to do those 3 meals 5 hours apart, no snacking. Square meals meaning a balanced amount of protein, carbs, and fats. Anchor every single meal in protein. and you're going to eat a good amount of fat. We're really not restricting any particular types of macronutrients, carbs, proteins, or fats. We just want to eat balanced, honestly, just eating balanced. It's funny, people will switch between high carb and low carb, low fat, high fat, and feel better when they switch. And then every time they switch back to the other, they start feeling better for a short while. And in reality, if they would have just eaten balanced, they would have felt great the entire time. So for this purpose, you can refine this down depending on your exact issues, but just following these recommendations will get you pretty far. So we won't go into detail too much more with that. I have so many videos on that. It's going to be like beating a dead horse. So inflammation, same thing. Have a lot of videos on this stuff, but start with the gut, and particularly if you have gut issues, there's likely some inflammatory factory going on. And anytime you have a little inflammatory factory going on, that could be impacting the pituitary, shutting down the production of the TSH. Anytime you get a low blood sugar drop, this swing in blood sugar, you could drive cortisol production and decrease TSH production. So you're inhibiting the pituitary gland. So if you think about it, thyroid hormone or your metabolism is dessert on the menu. If you can't afford it, you're not going to get it. It's something nice to have, but not, be careful the way I say this, but it's not, it's like the reproductive system for that matter. If your body's stressed out, it's going to be less concerned with having a baby. There's bigger fish to fry at this moment if these things are going on. These are the fight or flight reactions. These are survival mode. So when your body feels more comfortable, it starts increasing its metabolism output. So let's make the body comfortable, address your gut issue, and I've got videos on that. If you don't have gut issues or you've resolved the gut issues, there may be an immune aspect of this where it can get more complicated. In the next video, we'll talk about autoimmunity, and you'll follow those types of recommendations, but we don't want to that's for another video. So pretty much those two things, addressing the high or low blood sugar. In a high blood sugar case where you have insulin resistance, or even low, you get these insulin surges. Anytime you get a surge of insulin, you actually accelerate the production of inflammation. So there's a lot of ways that high blood sugar will tie into inflammation, and that would impact the thyroid in a negative way as well. So if you can balance blood sugar and you can reduce inflammation by correcting a gut issue, my gut protocols, I guess you could say, are about 6 weeks long, 8 weeks at the most. And you're just taking an herb, reducing the overgrowth, likely an overgrowth, and cutting out the foods that would aggravate that particular overgrowth. So if you have any questions about this particular category, it's actually one of the most straightforward and also the most common, and you can have a pretty quick impact on the thyroid by correcting this issue. Again, this is low TSH and low thyroid output, total T4. So again, if you have any questions, leave a comment below. You can send me an email, doc@drtoddanderson.com. I'm actually doing free 20-minute consults, so you can see that on my website. All right, like, comment, subscribe, and go ahead and hit that notification bell. Thanks.